BMRForm.com and BMRodds.com. What is going on, boys? What is going on? Episode number 105 of The Lobby. As always, each and every week with these esteemed gentlemen, starting off with Mr. Donnie Rightside. What's up, Donnie?
Feeling good, boys. We got a big sports weekend today. You got the schedule released for the NFL, which is okay. Most of it's already leaked out before the actual show tonight, which I always find interesting. 3 NFL games on Christmas Day once again this year. The Philadelphia Eagles open up against the Dallas Cowboys to start the season. And also, big-time NBA action. You got the PGA Championship this weekend. You got horse racing. We got a lot of stuff that we can watch, sit back, and relax for the month of May.
Yep, it's a good time to be
Yeah.
a sports fan in general.
Yep.
And then Reload, what's up, buddy? I see you're up at the Preakness.
Yeah, I'm actually still here at Churchill Downs. My voice got so hoarse from the Kentucky Derby, all the excitement. I've been under the weather with cough and everything, and sharing a big buffet with people put me under the weather. But at least I did cash with Sovereignty, so that made it all worth it.
There you go. Very nice. We'll jump into that here in a couple minutes. And last but not least, the distracted Sam's in charge. What are you watching over there, Sammy?
I got tennis on in the background, of course. You know, you got action in Rome right now between Mazzetti and Zverev. But, you know, we're rocking the New York Knicks. You know, 3-1 series.
Big
lead.
night.
Stinks for Tatum, but, you know, they're 3-1 up with Tatum and scoring 42. So, you know, rolling, really excited right now. Wasn't expecting to be in this position for the last 3 months, but here we are. Probably the best position to reach the finals in the last 30 years. So a lot of excitement over here. So let's go Knicks.
Let's go Knicks. And Donnie, let's jump right in with you. I saw your post, your video on the forum. You are on the Knicks tonight?
The New York, yeah, exactly. You know what? Let's get to this right now. As a true handicapper, you look at the game tonight and say it's Boston -4.5, and you scratch your head, and you're supposed to just be like, you know what? Smartest man in the room is the odds maker. Let's go ahead and just take the -4.5. But I don't believe that. Like as Sammy just said, like, yes, Tatum is out. Yes, Tatum had 42 points in the last game. The Celtics still lost. He basically played 4 games already in this series, and it was 3-1 New York. New York already won 2 games in Boston. And now you're telling me tonight it's going to be a win for the Celtics by multiple possessions? I'm not buying it. And I don't care if I fall into the trap tonight. I'm taking the New York Knicks. Same way last night. Man, look at that spread. 8.5 towards Cleveland. They're down 3-1. I don't care. I took the Pacers last night as well as the public dog, and it won. Tonight for me, the New York Knicks getting 4.5. I hate the Knicks. I like money. Good luck if you're on the Celtics. The line tells you Celtics, but I'm not going Celtics tonight. Same thing as last night. Give me the Knicks getting the 4.5. Come on.
All righty, Donnie. Good luck with that. We already know Sammy's on the Knicks, but what else you got besides that?
Go New York. Go New York.
Yeah, I mean, the Celtics just don't have a dog. They don't have a guy that's going to close for them. They don't have that guy. They don't have that Brunson in them. You know what I mean? They don't have that dog that's going to, be getting 8-9 points in the fourth quarter. The dude is dominant in the fourth quarter. He's leading the playoffs by over 15-20 points in there. But also probably like the Timberwolves to knock off Golden State tonight. That line is 10.5, but I don't really think that's a too good to be true line. Golden State doesn't have much behind Steph Curry not being there, and Jimmy Butler really isn't stepping up like he's supposed to. So Timberwolves should close it out at home tonight.
All righty, Sammy. Reload. Last but not least, NBA tonight. What do you got, buddy?
Yeah, so some good thoughts here on the game tonight with the Knicks Celtics. My lean was to the Celtics, but I just think it's too much of a premium. I really don't like taking must-win teams laying points, and especially with this injury to Tatum. So I think the under is the way to go. I'm going to take the under 208 in that one with Celtics Knicks. If you look closely, the under it's cashed at 3-1 in the series. The only one that went over was game 4. And I had to look hard through the games of the season, but the under was, I believe, 5-3 in the games that Tatum missed this season. So a little bit of an angle there. I think that's good enough to play it. So we're going to go under 208. I also took a look at Thursday's game with the Nuggets. I'm taking the Nuggets plus 4.5 there. I guess I'm kind of contradicting myself taking a must-win team, but I think taking must-win at plus 4.5 is a lot different than minus 4.5.
Right.
So Nuggets plus 4.5. They have cashed at 4-1 in the series, and also 7-2 is underdogs in the playoffs so far. ATS. So I'm going to stick with the Nuggets underdog play, which I've been doing on this show quite a bit lately.
All righty. Thank you, Reload, and good luck with that. Sammy, let's jump over to you. Did you catch any of the draft lottery last night? You know, they're saying the lottery looked sketchy with the Mavs as the first pick. You know, what do you think there?
Yeah, I mean, after the one of the worst trades in NBA history, the Mavericks get rewarded with the number 1 overall. Just like the Cavs got the number 1 overall when LeBron left them, just like the Pelicans got the number 1 overall when Anthony Davis left them.
Exactly.
So you love the conspiracy theories, and it's pretty easy to settle. Just put a second camera so we can watch. You know, even if people want to see the coverage, just let us watch the roulette wheel spin. You know, we want to see the bubbles go up in the ball. You know, it's just like the lottery when they're doing the daily numbers and stuff. They want to see them go up there, so at least they can't. You know, it's pretty easy to resolve, but it is pretty sketchy. 1.4%. No team has ever jumped up 10 spots before. But hey, good for Dallas.
I mean, there's no reason we cannot. What's the reasoning that we cannot watch that?
Yeah, I know. And you know what the other thing is too? I guess it's good that it didn't reward the teams that did tank, because the two worst teams, the Wizards and the Jazz, got the 5th and the 6th pick. So, you know, in the positive sense, it's good that you're not rewarding. Like in the NFL, you can't really tank as much as you can in other sports. Right. So the NFL giving the worst team in the league. I mean, look at the last couple of years. Teams that are supposed to be tanking keep winning games that they're not supposed to win to ruin themselves in the draft. So, you know, the NFL does a decent job as the worst team gets the number 1 overall. But in the NBA, you clearly see that you're not getting rewarded for tanking, so you should try and be competitive and you know.
Right. Exactly. Donnie, let's jump over to your thoughts on the draft lottery.
I loved it. Sixers improved their spot, going from maybe a chance of not even having a pick where it would convey over to OKC if it was 6 or less at that point, and the Philadelphia 76ers get 3. But I like the drama of that. But you're right about that. The one thing is I love conspiracy theories, and it checks out really well. Like, okay, LA needs that bona fide superstar. Trade him out there. We'll give you the number 1 pick, which is flag. We can rebuild and do everything. So I like that conspiracy. But also, we would do the same thing, and rightfully so. If we went live and watched the ping pong balls, what would we then say? Well, it's simple. Like the New York Knicks ball was lighter than all the other balls. Of course, he was going to come out number 1. You know, I mean, we would do the same thing, but I love conspiracies, and it checks out all damn too well. 0.8% or whatever, 1% to win the draft lottery, and you won the draft lottery. Stop it at this point. But I loved it. Sixers improved it, enjoyed it. The Spurs, too. Number 2 overall pick with an up-and-coming team. The top 3 teams really got helped out when technically they really didn't need help or shouldn't have gotten help.
Exactly. Reload, and it was 1.8%, as a matter of fact. Reload.
Oh, that's a big.
That's still, Reload over to you, buddy.
Yeah, I know Dallas was a long shot. I saw there were prop bets out there you could bet. I think people were cashing at like almost 40-1, something like that. Huh. Yeah, somebody on FanDuel, I think, bet $50 and cashed $2,000. So
wow,
you know, it's a fun bet to make, I guess. Maybe if you have some kind of free bet to throw away or something. You know, as it comes to the lottery, I was a fan of the old days when they just drew everybody equally. You know, it was kind of this big thing. They had the team names and all the envelopes, and I don't know. It was kind of better than this ping pong ball thing because,
it is better.
You know, now everybody you do still get some tanking toward the end of the season, and you know, this way, hey, you know, if the worst team gets stuck with the 11th pick or whatever, well, that's just how it is. You know, be a better team, you know, make some trades, you know, get something going, get a better coach. You know, I think that's what it's all about. I'm just not up for ever since they started with the ping pong ball thing, it's just been kind of a mess the whole way through. I still remember when they started it.
Thank you, Reload. Donnie, let's jump over to you. Let's talk some baseball. I know some games are already underway, but what do you got in the nightcaps tonight?
Yeah, looking for some good action tonight. The Phillies won their first game today, but I thought they'd get an over on a team total, but they did what they always did, 2 of 10 with runners in scoring position. I lost that one, but some good spots tonight that I do like with a couple of team totals. And also, just taking a look at a total to the over late night. Hendricks versus Vasquez, the Angels and the San Diego Padres. That line's about 185, a heavy price for San Diego. By the way, one of the highest xFIP guys in Major League Baseball is Randy Vasquez. And what that means is way too many fly balls, not enough strikeouts, and a lot of walks here, which means guys on base, which eventually likely you will get beat by. You also take a look in that game opposing Vasquez's Hendricks. He also is a high XFIP guy. That number is 8.5 at a lot of outlets, some at 9. I like the over 8.5 in that game here. Also, take a look at a team total with the Chicago Cubs going against Ryan Weathers of Miami. Weathers had a decent season last year, but his career just shows he's a pedestrian pitcher. A lot of good hitters in that lineup. They scored 5 runs yesterday, and I look for the Cubs to score 5+ runs tonight. So 2 games to take a look at a little bit later. Mets team total like that a little bit as well, but the primary ones, the good one tonight, 9:40 tonight, Angels and the Padres.
All righty, thank you. Sammy, over to you. Baseball. What do you got besides the Yankees, of course?
Well, the Yankees are starting pitch is just about to happen right now against Seattle, and they're basically a pick 'em. So you got to take them at a short price over Seattle.
Oh, of course you do.
Aaron Judge, the unanimous MVP, already putting up some insane numbers, batting over 400. With the home runs and RBIs, he's superstar over there. But other games I like is Dodgers -1.5 over the A's and Toronto over Tampa Bay.
All righty, and last but not least, Reload Baseball. What do you got for us, buddy?
Yeah, just one game for me tonight, the Royals and Astros. It's a rubber game of a 3-game set here. I'm going with the Royals at the plus odds, +110, sitting at +110 right now. And I think the game, it should have been a little closer to a pick 'em than that. The Royals opened up the series with a high-scoring win. I think tonight's game will be a lot more like that than Houston evened it out yesterday, but I think I'm looking for a high-scoring Royals win. I don't really want to take the over 8.5. That's gone up a little already. So I'm just going to stick to my guns with the Royals at +110.
All righty. Thank you, Reload. Donnie, let's jump over to you. Pete Rose, elected into the Hall of Fame. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, what are you thinking here?
Well, he's not elected to the Hall of Fame. He's eligible now, basically, to be elected into the Hall of Fame. So that'll be up to the writers if they want to put him in. But I do think it's the way it was supposed to go down. They were going to let Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame while he was alive. Now that he's passed away, he doesn't get to rejoice in that moment. Maybe his family does at this point. But also understand this, too. And I've said this on multiple shows. If Pete Rose, we are a forgiving society. Pete Rose bet on baseball, which is the cardinal sin. You can't do that. If he showed mercy, apologized, I can't believe I let it go this far. I was degenerate at the time. I was losing money. It was my only way out. I'm sorry. Do you know what happened within the next 5 to 10 years? He would have been reinstated back into baseball like nothing happened, would have been a beloved figure, but he jammed it in baseball's face for decades there, never admitting, always upstaging Major League Baseball, and that's why they did that. Now, is he one of the best hitters in baseball? Should he be in the Hall of Fame? Absolutely, because what he did as a manager, a little bit questionable. What he did as a player, I mean, it certainly speaks for itself. But that's up to the writers at this point. If it was me, I'd probably put him in, but I like the way they did it. He passed away. Now you give the option for him to go in the Hall of Fame. He never, while he was living, should have seen going into the Hall of Fame. Just can't do it.
Thank you, Donnie. Reload, over to you. Your thoughts on this, Pete Rose and the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, well, I was a fan of Pete Rose growing up. I've met him a couple of times actually in person too. He was sitting right next to me, right near me at a boxing match once, a couple rows up from me, and walked over, shook his hand. He wasn't the friendliest guy, but that's understood. He was, kind of in his entourage of people there and stuff. But yeah, I think he's always deserved to go in. This is really a long overdue, and I do like what they decided and said, well, now it's just going to apply to anybody who's deceased. So anybody who is on the ban list for any reason is off the list. I think that just makes sense. It's too bad that wasn't a rule a long time ago. But at least it makes general sense. So that way it doesn't look like you're just only doing it for Pete Rose. There are going to be times in the future this happens too.
All righty. Thank you. And last but not least, Sammy, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's in a disagreement that that's the right move, and I'd be shocked if the writers don't nominate him and put him in the Hall of Fame next year. It'd be a disservice at this point if they don't put him in there.
Exactly. Donnie, let's jump over to you. You've been checking out any of the playoff games. Got a lot of NHL action going. You got anything for us tonight?
No, I haven't really bet too much on it, but certainly been watching it as it goes through. I'm just a fan of the Toronto-Florida series because I just like the panic attack that the Toronto fans will have if it's 2-2, and then it goes back to 3-2 Florida. It was 2-0 Tampa at that point, or excuse me, 2-0 for Toronto at that point. But also, like my B team that I root for, I know you're out there in Las Vegas and a very popular team in the Golden Knights. So I just love the way the Edmonton Oilers play hockey. That is a fantastic series. And for playoff hockey tonight, they have a total at 6.5. I love it, man. Playoffs usually about goaltending and defense and no penalties. To give me a 6.5, I'm going to be enjoying that game tonight at 9:30 tonight. Rooting interest on Edmonton and just a viewing interest on Florida and Toronto.
All right, thank you. Sammy, over to you. NHL playoffs, you been catching any of it? And
Oh, yeah.
betting-wise, how's it going?
Every night I'm watching it. You know, you got the split screen with YouTube TV, so you got two. You know, you got them both going. I got both TVs on both sides in the living room. But yeah, definitely been loving it. My best friend in college is an Oilers fan, so for the West Coast, obviously outside the Rangers, I do like rooting for the Oilers. Right. Sorry, it is against your Vegas Golden Knights, but like them to close out the series at a plus, a plus odds. If it does go back to Edmonton, they'll be a favorite, so at least you get a chance to take them at plus money. And we'll take Florida on the road over Toronto, and then probably to take it at home on Game 6.
All righty, Reload, over to you. NHL playoffs. What do you got? You been watching any of it, buddy?
Yeah, been catching some of it. Been on the wrong end of a couple of plays, but tonight I'm looking at the Panthers Leafs under 5.5. The teams have held serve going into Game 5, but I think we're going to see a tight game. I like under 5.5, and that it's at plus odds too. So you don't see that too often. I think there is some under 6s out there, but you've got to lay juice. So I'd rather go with the under 5.5 and hope there's not an empty net goal to mess it up.
All righty. Thank you, Reload. Sammy, let's jump over to you. You're the tennis master around here. That's for sure. How's it been for you? How's the threat looking?
Yeah, so overall, we're in the middle of May, so we're 5 months in, up 7 units. So, overall through the grind, doing decent. This week I'm plus 5 units, but a great match going on right now. But yeah, they're in Rome right now. You got great semifinals. You got Coco Gauff Sabalenka, which was a rematch from Madrid in the finals. Peyton Stearns, that's won 3 straight third set tiebreakers, which is pretty awesome to do that in 3 straight matches versus Jasmine Paolini. On the men's side, Alcaraz in the semifinals versus the winner of this match, Vera Musetti. And then you got Sinner, which is in his first tournament back from suspension against Ruud in the quarterfinals tomorrow. Then you got Hurkacz. I'm going to take +3 against Tommy Paul. But yeah, the tennis has been great. And then you got 1 week off, and then the French Open in 2 weeks. So and then you go right back into the grass season. So it's quick in the off hard court seasons, and then a couple months, and we'll be right back into the hard courts.
Awesome. Thank you, Sammy. Reload, since I know you're big into the horse racing, how was it for you? What do you got coming up?
Yeah, Kentucky Derby was great. As I mentioned at the top of the show, I was at a place with a nice buffet, looking it on, and was able to cash with Sovereignty up top, winning place tickets there. So the guy next to me actually had journalism. He had $5,000 to win on journalism, if you can believe that. He showed me the ticket.
Wow.
Yeah, and he lost it. He was down 12,000 going into that race for the day. Jesus. He kept showing me his tickets, and he had a couple of winners. He was just really a big favorite. He just bet favorites all day, bet big on the favorites. I felt bad for the guy. He was a nice guy to chat with, but there's someone like that in every room, and that's why you 100%. See these odds on the favorites go down so much. It's because of things like that. But anyway, we move on to the Preakness, and Sovereignty is skipping the race. So I think it's a smart move from Bill Mott. He's one of the best trainers ever. He's the kind of trainer that looks for the long run. He's done wonders with some of the older horses into their 4-year-old runs. So I think that's what he's doing here. He's focusing on the Belmont Stakes, which is up at Saratoga again this year. And that's what I think he wants to target and win. So skipping the Preakness, going for that. I'm a supporter of that. As far as who I like in the race so far, I am still trying to narrow it down. There are some new shooters coming out, like Clever Again. Another horse from Steve Asmussen, who I usually like to take. The morning line only 5-1 though. Won his last 2 starts. Son of American Pharaoh, so that's probably worth something in there. There's another horse called Heart of Honor who ships in from the Middle East. I think could be one to watch too. It's interesting. The trainer, I think they could have entered him in the Kentucky Derby, but they skipped it and wanted the extra time to train for the Preakness. And I think what he's trying to do is use the Preakness as kind of a prep for the Belmont Stakes. The one he really wants to win is the Belmont.
Right.
So that's an interesting long shot, 12-1 morning line. probably you'll have that in my mix somewhere. American Promise for Wayne Lucas is coming back from the Derby after a really disappointing race, got bumped at the start, was a non-factor in the whole race. So again, he's going off at high odds in the Preakness. Just a question of how well he deals with the 2-week layoff. That's a quick layoff. But Lucas, you got to have confidence. If he didn't have faith, he probably would skip it. So I would watch out for American Promise. And Journalism, the favorite who I mentioned earlier that lost the Derby, is entering the Preakness. Morning line favorite 8-5. There are definitely excuses in that race. The sloppy track, the fact that there are 19 horses on the track. I think there's almost an excuse for everybody in the Derby when you've got so much close quarters there. So I don't know. Journalism is worth a look, but the odds are pretty low, and I don't know. I'm on the fence whether I'd include Journalism in my mix or not, but I'll take a look.
All righty, reload. Donnie, over to you. Did you catch any of the Derby? You like anybody in the Preakness?
Yeah, enjoyed the Derby. I'm just because the Preakness is always big, and it feels like the Preakness is in the perfect spot because every year, yes, the Kentucky Derby gets the excitement from the first race, but you get the champion from the Kentucky Derby into the Preakness for that glimmer of hope for a Triple Crown. It's just a shame that there will be no Triple Crown opportunity. We understand what the trainers are doing, because also understand this. Like if a horse you feel isn't up to racing just a few weeks later and gets injured and gets to get put down, that's a few $100 million in future investments that go up in smoke. So you have to treat the horse with respect. We all want him to race, but also you got to do what's right by your business as well. So it's understandable that's going to happen. If you have a horse that goes out the stud and, just wins the Kentucky Derby and doesn't even race in the Preakness and or Belmont, you still have tons of money in your pocket. If the horse gets injured there and you put him down, you got no money in your pocket at that point. So I understand that it's just a shame for the big day. I don't have any horse in the field at this point right now, but I'll wait till later in the week to see if we make some decisions. It's just a shame we don't get the chance to at least cheer on the start of a Triple Crown.
Of course. Sammy, over to you. Did you catch the Derby? And what do you got coming up for the Preakness this weekend, buddy?
Yeah, obviously I watched the Derby, and I'm happy I didn't bet it because it was sloppy. I was going to take Sandman. I'm a easy better. I would just take a horse to win, and he came in 18th out of 19th. So I'm happy I didn't bet it. I always take a loser in the Derby. But here's what I think about the Derby, Preakness, Belmont. They should widen the gap. I understand tradition, and I understand it's been doing this for 100, however many years, and it's been the 2-week, 3-week. But it's just like baseball. 30 years ago, people were playing every three. Now it's every 6 days they're starting. Guys don't pitch more than 6 innings. Guys are on pitch restrictions. It's, things are different. Training is different. Guys are bigger. Horses are bigger. They're trained different. The endurance is different. The track is a little bit different. They got to somehow, stretch it, because if you want to talk about tradition, on Tuesday after the Kentucky Derby, they already announced that the horse was scratched not scratched, but not running in the Preakness.
Right.
Then, it kind of ruins the muster of the Preakness. Yes, we're excited for the big event, but, knowing that the Kentucky Derby and the Triple Crown is off the table 2 days after the Kentucky Derby, it ruins the excitement of it. So, maybe they should stretch it to 3 weeks or 4 weeks, in between them, so they can have that opportunity to get it. But in reference to the race, I'm still going to go with Sandman that I didn't take in the Kentucky Derby with the sloppy track. Should be back to a fast track, with the weather, and hope that he's at 7-1 now off a bad race, and hope to take someone that's going to beat Journalism. But I definitely think in terms of the tradition, it's tough, but maybe to get the excitement back, maybe make it 3 weeks in between.
Right. Sam, Donnie, PGA Championship this weekend. I'm not a big golf fan, never was. Kind of a boring sport to me, but I believe you played before, right?
Yeah, I used to play way back. I mean, I used to play a lot before I used to, hone hoagie shops and did some different things. I got a wife and a kid, like all throughout high school, all throughout college, and then certainly for my first 10 years as I was a young entrepreneur. But this one steps up at the PGA Tour. It's interesting because usually when the PGA Tour and it's an event like a major, right? The Masters is the same one every single year, but the Masters also isn't on the PGA Tour as an actual golf course. That's what you're getting this week at Quail Hollow. It's a course that a lot of guys like to play. It's a wonderful golf course, but there's no mystique behind it. Like when you had to, let's just say, Oakmont in a couple weeks out there in Pittsburgh. Those are the fun courses. But for me, it's still Scotty Scheffler up top, and it's Rory McIlroy. But you can always get big-time names in these fields because they're large and get huge price points, 75-1, 100-1 on golfers that have won majors in the past. But for me, it comes down to Rory's playing so well right now, and Scotty Scheffler is always up there. It probably is going to come down to those two, plus 450s, plus 450s, 5-1 prices between both of those guys. So I would look at the leaderboard up top here. Usually the cream rises to the top in these big majors.
All righty, reload. You a golf guy?
Oh, sometimes I'll watch it Sundays if it's close. I'm that kind of guy. I'm not going to watch the whole thing.
Right.
But yeah, you got to try to pull for Scotty Scheffler. After all he went through last year there and everything, I'd like to see him make a run at it. He had a decent run in the Masters toward the end. So that's who I'm pulling for. I know the odds don't pay much to take him, but as a fan, I like to watch golf. I'd like to see Scheffler win, or I like to see, some crazy long shot guy, maybe make a playoff or something and, make some drama happen. Those are the two things I'll look for.
All righty. And last but not least, Sammy, PGA Championship. I know you're a little bit of a golf guy here and there. You dabble, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I got a tee time on Sunday morning at 7:45, so be able to golf in the morning, be able to watch it in the afternoon. Rory, he's going to go for the calendar Grand Slam. Sitting at 5-1. What's not to like about him? But Scheffler, as long as the police don't interrupt him, he doesn't get any early bookings. He's always in there as well. And like Donnie says, if you want to go for a long shot, Ludwig Adberg at 30-1. But really, I don't necessarily like to bet it on Thursday. What I'll do is just live bet on Sunday. Obviously,
right.
You're not getting the bigger odds. You're taking a favorite or the second shot, depending on where they're at. But, just worry about it. Just watch, have fun for the first 3 rounds, and then pick someone on Sunday, and then just hope for the daily, just hope for the 1-round win, and then go from there. So that's really what I'm going to look for, is just watch it for the first 3 dates and then bet it on Sunday.
All righty. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Good luck on all the various sports action, guys. Good luck on all your wagers. And we will see you guys around on the farm.
Right.